people that put the tax assessment data together. And we started with that. They brought us up to speed on how the tax assessment data works. And 4 or 5 of us spent a week at City Hall going through 35,000 pages of tax assessment data to pull out every industrial property. The good thing about the tax assessment data is it has codes to indicate which properties are assessed as vacant. So we were able to gather a lot of information about those lands. We then received 2 reports through the city. One that was a vacancy report or vacancy rebate report. Anybody that has a commercial or industrial property can apply for a rebate. And when they do, we don't know exactly how much of the property is vacant, but we know that some of it is vacant. So we're able to use that data. We also went through the MLS system to find all the properties that are for sale and for lease. We also went through websites like Kijiji to find where private owners had their properties up for sale. And altogether, we found over 1,000 acres of industrial lands that are vacant or underutilized that never appeared on any of the city's reports. And this is some of the information that's been submitted to the OMB, and we'll see what difference that makes. So Sean Whitehounds helped us with some of our technical reports, and he's got some maps here that indicate some of the lands that we found.
Hi. So I'm just going to show you a few maps. The map is focused mainly on the bayfront area because most of the industrial lands are concentrated there. And if you zoom too far out and look at the entire city, the parcels become just too small to really see. So we're just going to focus on this area just to give you an idea of what was found. And I have to commend Larry and his team because they literally went through paper, turning physical pages to find this information. Because MPAC charges exorbitant fees to access that electronically, and they had to manually translate all of that from written word into electronic. So they did a lot of work to generate this data, which was really well. This is just the base map. And then this first one, as I click through, the colors will change as I add these parcels. This is the industrial land indicated through the Hamilton report as being available. And Don, I don't know, maybe you know if that includes greenfield and brownfield, or is it just brownfield?
It's greenfield.
It's both. When the data that we found is going to be almost exclusively brownfield existing zone stuff. So you have to kind of keep that in mind that we're comparing it against theirs is everything and ours is just the brownfield. This is, I believe, about 1,500 acres that we've mapped here. I don't know if that represents everything in the Hamilton report. The next one is vacant industrial acreage that is listed by MPAC as industrial and listed as vacant, legally vacant, meaning it's not used at all. It was missed by the Hamilton report, so this is like really low-hanging fruit that they should have included, available just through MPAC data without any door knocking or anything. And I'll swap that on the board so you can compare.
Number there is?
That's almost 200 acres. So the next one I'm going to add is this is industrial land that receives a tax rebate for applying based on vacancy. So the way that works, Larry touched upon it, is if all or some of your land is not being used, you can apply to the city to say, look, we're not actually using this for industrial purposes, we should get a tax break because industrial taxes are very high. This is representing all of the full size of the property, so we don't know what portion is being applied for. It could be 1%, it could be 100% of these, but it gives you an idea of the amount of industrial land that actually exists in the city. There's a lot of it, and a lot of, we would argue, even the the stuff that's listed as utilized is probably underutilized. Very low density usage that we should be taking advantage of. This is just a different zoning. It's industrial with a mixed-use component. We captured this because some of this could be industrial, and again, these are properties that are receiving vacancy rebates, so not 100% utilized. This one includes, this is all of the industrial land in the city, including the stuff that's listed as used. Just to give you an idea of how much land is actually out there. The black stuff is all used land, so it's not considered available, but just to give you kind of an idea. And this adds a commercial component, which is not strictly what we're talking about here, but includes some commercial uses we just wanted to capture. And I'm just going to back up through so you can see where we started with the Hamilton. So this is what they identified as available. So we have numbers, and I believe it's 1,000 acres identified versus they identified 1,500, I think. So it's quite a large percentage that were not identified. And that doesn't take into account the commercial, the mixed use, the things like that, which if you really wanted to go with a fine-tooth comb, way beyond our resources, there's a lot more out there. So they really haven't told the whole story. So that kind of gives you an idea of the work that's gone into that. Thanks, Larry.
Thank you. So I'll come right to you. One of the things that we found, tax assessment data doesn't line up with zoning data perfectly. It's interesting, a property could be industrial, but it's assessed commercial, or it could be commercial and it's assessed industrial. We believe there's even more land out there. I even saw properties that I'm sure are industrial that are being assessed as commercial. So this is what we know we can prove. There could be even more. And again, I can't thank Sean enough because we do all that hard work, but it takes a real talent to put it in the colors and visually show you the difference. So thanks again, Sean.
Are these maps online anywhere that we could access or reference them?
They're not, but...
So they have been submitted to the OMB, and I know that the OMB just gave us a link. John, I'm not sure if you're aware of that. Nancy sent a link where all the files are posted online. So they may be there. If not, if you email the Civic League, we'll send them out to you, or perhaps Sean can put them in an area where people can view them.
Thank you.
Yes?
I just wonder if there has been any attempt to analyze the number of jobs, industrial jobs we have in the city compared to the existing use of industrial land. They've used a figure for their projected, and where did that come from?
Don?
Okay, if I understand your question correctly, this is another, I think, a hole in their argument as such. They're justifying a need for more industrial land on the basis of how many industrial jobs they think will be in Hamilton in 2031. And those numbers are based on two things. One is how many people we think will be in Hamilton in 2031, and that number seems to be wrong. And what percentage of the jobs that they have will be industrial jobs. And so there's some confusion there in terms of, there's some choice there being made by the city as to what percentage of jobs it expects to be in industrial jobs. What we know is that there has been a continuous decline in the proportion of industrial jobs versus jobs that are in offices and jobs that are in services and that sort of thing. So there is, some question about whether that's the accurate way to calculate it. But having decided in 2006 that this was going to be the future in 2031, the way Laureus does his calculations is he does everything from 2006. So what's happened since 2006 he doesn't want to consider. And he also doesn't want to consider what might have happened to jobs and the job numbers on the lands that already exist. So for example, we know National Steel Car on any given day could have several hundred people or almost none. They're up and down and all over the place. US Steel has shut down, reopened partly, maybe it'll do more. There's lots of variation that's going on within our existing employment areas. But the assumption here is that none of that counts. The only thing that counts is how many additional jobs we're going to have, and therefore how much additional land. And they're essentially arguing that if there is industrial land that's vacant out there, it really isn't attractive anyway, so we don't want to use it. We don't expect somebody to use it, and we'll carry it on. Does that answer your question? You want to try?
Not really. I was trying to discern whether we had any correlation